So, welcome back to the Via VHS podcast. I'm your host, Wesley, as always, joined by Spencer Scott Holmes. And tonight we're going back to the wonderful movie year of 1984, one of the best movie years ever. And we're looking at this little hidden gem, this cult classic, a little movie that could. We're looking at Night of the Comet, a very unique, slightly bizarre, slightly surreal film. And my first time watch, there's Night of the Comet. Look at that.
Yeah, I got the
Beautiful.
fun Shout Blu-ray release of it, which it's even got little special features and everything. And I think
There
that's
you
like the
go.
first that's the first like good quality one they put out in a very long time. So,
Good.
for the cult classic of this movie is, and I circulated forever, on just like crappy kind of VHS copies, out there and whatnot, and apparently played on TV as you mentioned to me before. It was a popular one, maybe like almost like a Beastmaster, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah. I've got Beastmaster on the mind after seeing the poster in this movie. And yeah, I mean, this is quintessential VHS fodder. This is like perfect VHS. Very 80s. I mean, almost two 80s
No,
in
this
some
movie
ways.
like 100%. If you needed to explain to somebody what the 80s was like, you could just show them this movie. This movie like will hit them all. It hits all the genres, it hits all the character arcs and so on like that. Like the soundtrack, everything about it's just screaming 80s.
Yeah, if you want to say, okay, quintessentially 80s, it's Breakfast Club. If you want to show somebody what was weird about the 80s, that you show them this. Like this movie just has so many ingredients of 80s movies, so many ingredients of different genres, all kind of mashed together. It becomes a really unique kind of film because you really can't pigeonhole it anywhere. You can't just say, oh, it's a, horror sci-fi. That doesn't even
No.
completely fit either, I mean, that would be what I describe it. When I make the thumbnail for YouTube and I put the little VHS stickers on there, it's going to say horror sci-fi, but it's much more eclectic than that. This movie's kind of like all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, if I put it in my categories or whatnot, like on my shelf, of course it's going to go in the horror sci-fi section. That's where it kind of first and foremost is. But it delves into so many other places and so on like that. I think that's the thing is you get a lot for one movie, in a sense.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of stuff going on here. And the Night of the Comet, November 1984, big movie year, and this movie, it's kind of like past expectations a little bit. Did pretty well at the box office, all things considered. But this is it's definitely become a cult classic. It doesn't have, a lot of cult classics are movies that just were a big bust at the box office and then later on pick up steam. This one, had some success, it had relative success, and then later on, kind of gained even more of a following. But this movie is very, very weird, very unique. I had never seen this before, so you didn't really grow up with it either. This is something like past 5, 10 years you've kind of
Yeah,
latched
a little
onto.
bit in like the 2000s during like the Netflix DVD era. I remember when I was kind of just trying to find all those movies that sounded cool that I always wanted to see. This was one of them. So I watched it back then and really dug it and so on like that. And then since then, I've gotten the Blu-ray and everything like that. And this is probably the fourth time I've watched this movie to tell you the truth. I actually have seen it quite a bit. I actually watched it earlier this year, only like 6 months ago. I like it that much.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those, movies. I have so many of these where I was really just getting into obsessive place with watching movies right about the time I started via VHS. And then once I started the podcast, it was like everything that was on my watch list became on save it for the podcast list. And this is
Yeah.
definitely one of them. And I've been waiting a really, really long time to see it. And it's just been sitting there on Tubi or Amazon, just like, please watch me. I wish I had it on VHS because it would have been, you know,
Yeah, this movie is like
magical.
such the one to have on VHS for sure.
It really is. And I don't think I've ever seen it around.
No,
Um,
I can't imagine it's an easy one because I remember just in doing some research on it and so on because it sounds like it was one of those movies that was big deal in the cinemas or for what it was, made pretty good impact there. But then it kind of came out on VHS, people saw it, but it sort of faded away for like a decade plus, and then sort of resurfaces the cult kind of movie in like the late '90s, and then finally, Blu-ray era is when it kind of got its re-release.
Yeah, I think one of the cast members, it might have been Kelly Maroney. I'm not sure it was her that said this, but didn't think this movie was going to hold up very well at all. Like it was a fad movie, is what she called it, not like a cult classic. It was a fad movie that fit very, very much into the time that it's in, and it's not going to work later. But it's actually the opposite. This movie has become like a time capsule.
Hmm.
And it's you go back and this is one of those movies you go back not just to enjoy the story, but to kind of relive a certain attitude, a certain point in time, a certain humor, just a certain characteristic of that particular point in time can give you. And this movie has that in spades.
Yeah, no, no, no. This one just is 100% that. It is like you go back in time, just so much of the stuff, the locations. I mean, we even start off in this movie, our main character, Regina here, she's working in a movie theater. Well, it's like they just literally went into this movie theater and just shot it as is.
Yeah.
They didn't really change or add anything to it, and it's this one called the El Rey, which I looked it up. It looks like it's still operational down
Hmm.
in Los Angeles. So that's kind of cool. It'd be kind of an interesting one to go check out. But like everything in there, when you're just looking at that's like such a historical moment, kind of like equivalent of like when we were watching Silent Night, Deadly Night, and they're in the toy store. I was just like
Yeah.
lost by looking at the toys in the back and going like, oh, I remember those ones. I remember that there too. Oh, I've never seen one of those before. And you just see that and like nobody at the time probably they're like, whatever, we got a toy store to shoot at. What's on the walls? Who cares? It's just toys. But no, no, no.
Yeah.
In like the long run, it's like that's the coolest part.
Yeah, like if you wanted to recreate that movie theater now, it would you would have a lot of stuff in there, but it would not be able to match that charm because it was very natural, it was very organic at the time. You'd be trying to replicate something. Like with the background right behind me, I'm trying to replicate it, but it's not as organic as it was in that movie. It's just the perfect posters. Yeah, like I mentioned, the Beastmaster poster. There's another really good one in
There's
there. I
there's
can't remember.
Valley Girl poster on the wall. There's a
Yeah,
Death Race 2000 on the
that's the
door.
one. That's the one I
Yeah,
was thinking of. Yeah. There was a lot of really cool stuff in there. Of course, you have the arcade cabinet, the Atari thing going on, which
yeah. They
kind of
got
plays into the
Tempest.
story.
It's one
Yeah.
of my favorite Atari games.
Yeah. That's probably one of mine too. I haven't played it in fucking years. Now, and I'm pretty sure the movie theater that I went to a lot growing up, the one my mom worked at when she was in high school, and, I met my buddy Alex, through all that stuff. Gateway Cinema, they just tore it down.
Dude, my
Like,
movie theater just literally closed today as we're recording. Today's the very last day. And I kind of wanted to go, but there's really nothing good out at the moment. It's kind of like a bummer. So I want
yeah.
my last memory to be that I went and saw Eight Crazy Nights in cinemas there, and that's fine with me for a
Yeah.
re-release Christmas Hanukkah special.
You closed the movie theater? That's a technical fail.
That's a technical foul. Yeah. So I could say that on the first day of Hanukkah, that was the last time I went to that cinema.
Dang, that's fucking wild, man.
But yeah,
Um,
so it's just the kind of the end and so on like that for some of those places. It's kind of a
yeah,
bummer.
yeah. It's gonna make movies like this even more, special when you're going back and reliving the analog era. But yeah, this movie is you people would probably describe it as like a genre matchup. Like it's also a horror sci-fi movie, and you got a little bit of this Valley Girl element going on. And the way I was describing it to you yesterday, and because I thought of this perfect analogy, is I've been, trying to eat better and trying to do better with my life. And I decided I was going to start making tuna salad every week, like an ass load of it. And I
Ass load of tuna.
ass load of tuna. That was the name of my high school ska band.
Yeah, exactly.
No, no. But I started like, I was just going to make a bunch every week. And I remember Matthew McConaughey went viral for his like crazy tuna salad recipe. Don't look at the video because Burt Kreischer's in it and he's a dickhole. But you can go read it somewhere. But it's getting wild. This tuna salad recipe, and it's like there's corn, there's peas in it, there's like sweet pickles in it, there's Italian dressing, wasabi,
Hmm.
mayo, of course. It starts with mayo, which is the base, which is normal. But then you jalapeno chips in there, agave syrup in there. I mean, just a random bunch of shit. And then I was thinking, maybe he took like a Tex-Mex recipe, tuna recipe, and then like an Asian fusion recipe and mixed it. And I'm like, no, there's Italian dressing in there. He just went through a Rolodex in his mind of different ingredients of different shit and threw it in this tuna salad. And that's what this movie is. It's not fully horror, not fully sci-fi. You can't really fully claim it's a zombie movie either. You can't really claim it's like a teenage comedy. It's just like ingredients of different 80s movies. A little bit of zombie, a little bit of this, a little bit of corn, a little bit of peas, jalapeno chips. I mean, it's just a bunch of random stuff in there. And it works so well. And such a limited budget, such, creativity to make this movie work. And it's just one of those, it's slightly lightning in a bottle when you consider all the limitations that went
Yeah.
into it. And it's not perfect. There's a lot of things about this movie I did not like. But overall, this was a fun little film.
Yeah, but for a $700,000 budget movie, like it's charming as all hell. That like you feel like you can't like almost knock it because of like it's just amazing like what they accomplished on that too, and everybody sort of like pulls it together. And our two main leads, they're like fantastic in there. They just make you want to see more adventures with them in it.
Absolutely. Yeah. This movie could have used a few sequels. I'm really kind of shocked that this is like perfect type of movie to would get sequels, but
It feels like a good trilogy one where like each one would be Night of the Comet, Night of this, and so on, and like they just go on these different like adventures throughout this like new world that they're in.
yeah, really, really kind of a bummer that it didn't play out like that. But we've talked about, going back to the late 80s, watching this movie. We've talked about the box office. So we might as well fire up the tail of the tape and actually delve into that a little bit.
I think so.
So, tail of the tape, if you never listened to the show, we go back to the week the movie was released. And we just kind of look at the culture around the movie. If there's some interesting news stories, sporting events, a good album was released that week. We'll look at that, but mainly we look at the box office and the films that our featured rental went up against that week. And Night of the Comet released on November 16th, 1984. Director Tom Eberhardt, who you told
Yeah,
me directed
yeah.
Captain Ron,
I was just saying
which,
that's how you know that he's a good director because he also wrote and directed Captain Ron, one of my all
yeah,
time favorite movies. So
yeah,
Captain Ron, Night of the Comet, that's a pretty good double feature combo that you
there
don't
you
think
go.
would be the same guy, but it is.
Yeah, and he wrote and directed this film too. So yeah, he's pretty creative guy. I didn't really delve that much into his filmography like I wanted to, so I didn't even see Captain Ron.
Yeah, he doesn't
So
have a ton of movies. I want to say he only has like 8 movies in total or something like that. Like
yeah,
it's not a whole lot. I think he did a lot of like I think British TV, maybe some other stuff like that. But
yeah,
yeah, movie wise, it's like Night of the Comet's only a second movie too.
yeah. And by the way, if you listen to the show for the first time, Captain Ron is a theme. We bring it up. We never
Yeah,
review it, but we talk about it all the time.
one day we
Um,
will.
one day we will, maybe soon. Actually, maybe
I think
soon.
so. I think we should because that to me is like that's like my probably ultimate go to feel good movie. If I want to have
Mm,
just like the one that takes me back more than anything else, it's Captain Ron. Son in law's
yeah,
right there too, but Captain Ron.
yeah, maybe, yeah, maybe coming soon to a video shelf near you. But yeah, director Tom Eberhardt, um, starring Catherine Mary Stewart, Kelly Maroney, and Robert Beltran, who was also in Star Trek. And the box office for this movie opened up third, so it only has $700,000 budget. So even if this movie does sort of well, it's going to probably make that up. Even with marketing, we're looking at probably $1.5 million, 2 million at the max. This movie spent, which probably wasn't even that.
Yeah.
So you don't need a whole lot here, and this movie does pretty well. It opens up against Missing in Action,
Yeah, the big old Chuck Norris returned to
got Chuck,
Vietnam. We gotta save those POWs.
Mother Chucker. Um, yeah, Chuck Norris Missing in Action. I got this. I think I have that on VHS. We need to have a Chuck Norris like marathon.
I think so. I think we need to have like a Chuck Norris of March or something. I don't know, one of
Yeah,
those ones. But
Chuck November,
yeah, Chuck Vember.
Chuck Vember.
That's almost too long. I feel like we need to see Chuck before then. You know.
Yeah, yeah. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Well, maybe we just like have like a special series where we do a Chuck Norris movie. But yeah, Missing in Action number one. Oh God, you devil. Number two. Never seen those movies. I think there's two of them.
Yeah, I know that's like one of those ones like I've seen the cover many a times and that's about it.
Yeah, same. I think I have a poster for it. from like my mom's movie posters. I'm pretty sure I have a poster for the first one, for this one. But Oh God, You Devil at number two, making 5.5 million. Um, Night of the Comet, opening number three, 5.3 million. Pretty good opening weekend, especially on a budget like it had.
Yep.
So they had to be thrilled, just over the moon. And then it finished just above this other little indie flick, quaint little indie flick. You might want to look into it. I've seen it before. The Terminator.
Yeah, exactly. See, Night of the Comet just knocked it down, right here. I know
Yeah,
Terminator's been out for about a month by this point, but yeah, the small movie of the year, the Terminator, with the larger than life action star.
yeah,
Which is funny. You speak of Terminator wise. I literally think the main character in this movie, Regina, like when I look at her in Night of the Comet, like she feels like she could have been like the alternative choice for Sarah Connor. Like she has a
yeah,
lot of those characteristics and like not only just like the look, but like her build because she's got kind of like a very strong look to her. Like what I picture
yeah,
like in like Mother of the Future, Sarah Connor and everything like that. Every time I watch this movie, I always go, she literally could have been Linda Hamilton right in this. And it would have made sense.
yeah, yeah. Linda Hamilton. Props for, by the way, Stranger Things. She's in Stranger Things right now,
Oh,
or
is she?
was. Yeah,
Okay.
she's the last season of Stranger Things. She's like a villain. I think I haven't had a chance to watch it. I don't know if I'm going to watch it.
I know. I've
We'll
never
see.
seen Stranger Things. I only saw the Universal walkthrough thing, and I was very confused.
No, the first, I think season one, season three especially are just ridiculously good, and it's all movie callbacks.
Hmm.
It's and like they're very like transparent. There's even a episode where there's a clear Terminator episode,
Yeah.
and they have these movie homages in there, like, oh, that shot's from this movie. There's the Abyss. There's this. There's ET. A lot of ET. A lot of Ghostbusters. A little bit of Back to the Future. Um, Ghostbusters probably the most, I would think,
Yeah. That
out of
makes
all of them.
sense.
Yeah, it does. But yes, watch Stranger. It is good. If you like 80s movies, it really is an homage to 80s movies. It's 100% that. So give it a try. Um, just the way you are. Um,
This one, all I gotta say is just listen to the description of this movie on
yeah.
here because I've never seen this before. But just the way you are, a disabled musician thinks people treat her differently because of her disability. So she goes to a ski resort with her leg in a cast to test the theory. That one just sounds like literally like 80s woke if
Ass.
there ever was one. Yeah.
Ass. It sounds like ass.
Who knows? The movie could be good, but like that just sounds like the less fun version of a ski like '80s party movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
here's Brenda. She's got her broken leg, and she shows up to the ski resort of all places. That's like the guy with the broken hand going to go bowling. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Also, just the premise: do people treat people with disabilities differently?
yeah,
Like, what the fuck? Like, hard hitting, hard hitting movie making right there. Like, we're
yeah,
really going to touch on a topic that no one's talked about before.
yeah, exactly. It should just be that she goes into like she knows that there's a special ed camp where they're getting 1,000 free dollars, so she just fakes it for a week, and
Oh,
she goes a little too hard.
Like in Minnesota right now. Quality living. You've seen that stuff, right?
I don't think so.
Oh my God. Real quick, all these Somali like people are having daycares in Minnesota, and they were getting like $1.3 million from the government, $2.5 million in a year, 3.8, ridiculous. That
That's
have
the most
signs up.
pirate thing ever. Yeah.
Yeah, they have signs up that doesn't have like they're not even spelled right. It says Quality Learning Center instead of Learning Center. And this like, journalist went and exposed them all, and there's like no kids in any of them, like
Which is
none.
probably for the better. It's probably for the better that there's no kids in any of these things. Let's be
Yeah,
honest. Like, who
he's
knows what
like,
these pirates are up to?
yeah. He walks in there. He's like, "Hey, can I put little Billy in the store?" And they're like, "No, no, no, get the fuck out of here." And they're like, "You're harassing us." He's like, "Yeah, you're stealing money from taxpayers." So it's a big, big, big controversy right now. They were like really ripping off everybody, and Tim Walls is in deep shit. So
That's hilarious. It's funny
yeah,
how they go that far.
yeah, no, it's hilarious. But yeah, just the way you are somehow made us
Yeah.
think of Somali, Minnesotan Somali pirates. Um, Amadeus is on the
Yeah,
list.
still carrying on there. That's one of the big movies of that year.
Yeah,
Another one that could compete with Night of the Comet and Just the Way You Are and Missing in Action is Supergirl. The kind of
yeah,
forgotten DC movie came out, which is actually a pretty interesting one. It's not the greatest one, but it's actually kind of just one of those ones like I'm surprised that kind of came out at that time period. When you think about it, it feels kind of like it's kind of ballsy
yeah,
choice.
yeah. We'll definitely be reviewing that this year because Supergirl's coming out again this summer. Which did you
Yeah.
see the trailer for that? Looks really good, actually.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. Well, I have no movie theater anymore, so I don't know what to say anymore. My
I
days of
won't.
seeing trailers and theaters are gone. I'll
Damn.
just be out here. Yeah, it's so bummer, dude. The nearest theater's like, well, I guess there's one only an hour away, but beyond that, it's like an hour and a half plus.
Oh my
So,
God. Yeah. No.
that's
No.
that's the downfall. Things are far away. Yeah,
Just move here.
I think
Just
I
move.
need to.
Yeah, I've got one just down the street, and there's an
Yeah,
Alamo too.
yeah. See, I've never even experienced that. The closest
Yeah.
Alamo's in San Francisco. So,
Oh my God. That one's cool though. I've seen stuff about it. It's like kind of weird though. It's like very old. But um yeah, well sorry about your movie theater dying.
I know. Yeah,
Um
R.I.P.
RIP. But yeah, there's your none of the oh yeah, last thing. Rotten Tomato score. 74% from critics, 58% from audiences. I feel like that's weird.
That's the weirdest one because mostly
Yeah.
it's always the other way around. Mostly like if
Yeah.
say like the critic scores real low, the audience will be really high. But you mostly don't see the only time I can imagine you would see that is if it's like one of those like Academy Award winning
Yeah.
movies where like the critics, because they're probably getting paid off, put it up real high, and then the audience score kind of tells you what it really is. You know, that's like be like something like Crash or something like that. One of those like terrible movies.
Crash gets shit on again. Yeah, it is something off about that. It almost feels like the numbers are flipped.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of good things to say about this movie from critics. So I'm not surprised at the critic score. Actually, seems about right, but I'm really am surprised by the audience score being kind of low. But um, maybe they just got pissed off with it. But I guess we should just go ahead and jump into the movie. So we'll be back in just a moment with our rewind review of Night at the Comet. Again, Night of the Comet, 1984. Unique little underdog indie film, a tuna salad movie mixed with all kinds of crazy recipes, just little bits and pieces all mixed in there. And again, first time I watched it, overall, very pleased with it. There's some things about this movie I really hated, but they're definitely, uh, the rest of the movie overcomes it. It's overall a really fun experience.
Yeah, no, I can see that. You know what I mean? Because it is trying a lot of stuff. It's very experimental and so on
Hmm.
like that. You know, as I said, it's like it starts off. And that's the thing too is like it leads you in like okay, Night of the Comet. That's all you kind of know going into it. Here, there's going to be something going on. They have a little like prologue that comes in that shows this meteor flying over and says, "Last time this meteor came by, it was 65 million years ago," which kind of almost gives it away a little too soon, like what's going to happen. I mean, I guess if you watch the trailer, maybe but sometimes
Yeah,
I like to always assume that you should always make a movie like if someone's kind of going in blind, like they looked at the movie cover and that's all they needed to know.
yeah. Well, in fairness, I did. I'd never seen this movie. I didn't watch a trailer. I didn't really know what to expect going into it. A comet. That's literally all I expected.
Yeah, it just sounds cool. Like, because I feel like that when I went in this movie, it's like I didn't know very much about it either. It just sounded like, okay, cool. Night of the Comet, a couple of hip, Valley Girls. Like, sure, I'm down. Let's see where this goes. It just sounded like a good movie. You didn't need to know more.
Yeah, yeah. So the opening part, yeah, it didn't give away too much, but I was kind of happy for it. It has that very 50s kind of like sci-fi vibe to it. Kind of open similar to like The Thing or Predator, but like has that voiceover element to it is very like a 50s news reporter kind of going on.
Yeah. Well, that
So
was always a big thing in the '80s too. Was there's a lot of like callbacks to the '50s era movies, especially like the horror sci-fi stuff. Because I always think there's another movie called Night of the Creeps that has a very kind of
yeah.
similar vibe too. You know.
Yeah, yeah, that was the thing too. I didn't know what kind of vibe this movie was going to be. I didn't know if it was going to be straight action. But this movie, one thing right off the bat there was some levity to even the opening of the movie. So this movie doesn't take itself too seriously. It kind of knows what it is, which is one of the reasons why it works. Because a lot of movies like this have a lot of tonal problems and are like, oh, is it a funny movie? Is this a comedy? This movie never took itself too seriously, which really, really helps because there's a lot of logic stretches in here. So when you're just like, I'll shut the fuck up and watch the movie, you can do that with this one because, um, it's very, very possible. Even though there are some things in here I feel like they could have fixed, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, no, I can see that. But yeah, as we're led into this one, we start off in this cool retro movie. Well, this time it's a modern movie theater, but the El Rey, with all its like classic glory, you got the arcades and everything. That's our like, hero Regina is on Tempest, and she's bound and determined to make sure that her name is on all the high scores there, and her boss is like nagging at her to go get back to work and whatnot. And that boss guy is literally the dude who is in Last Action Hero, who plays the theater owner in that one. So that's what that guy's typecasted as. Which that's not a bad thing to be typecasted as, in my opinion.
No, that's a fun little typecast right there. Crazy old like when we did Silent Night, Deadly Night, the crazy old man was the same crazy old man from Back to the Future. Like you killed my pond. Um, but yeah, she's hacking away at the you meet Catherine was it Catherine Mary Stewart, Regina Belmont's her name, main character, playing Chimpus on the arcade cabinet. One thing important to mention that like this Night of the Comet, so it's set up like Haley's Comet. Like everybody's
Yeah.
like, oh man, this thing's coming back around. So there's everybody in the street, they're excited. It looks like New Year's Eve Times Square. They're running in and out of the theater trying to buy these little alien antenna things. It's just a big fun time. Everybody's getting like trashed.
Yeah, you got the barbecues going outside and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah. It's almost Christmas time though.
Yeah, so this could
This
have been a
little,
Christmas movie for our, last year list,
yeah, we definitely should have put this in there, although the parents die in this too. So it's like,
If we've learned anything, that's almost every Christmas movie.
at least for us, at least for us, all the parents die. Even when it's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. Yeah,
Damn.
you realize, see, that's why you just gotta watch Die Hard. Parents don't die in that one. Same with Lethal
No,
Weapon.
only terrorists.
Yeah, only terrorist, Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Gary Busey.
Oh man. Um, so yeah, they're all outside, getting hype, excited. Rumor is there's this one kid you see in the beginning of the movie with the microphone. A lot of people say it's LL Cool J. I think it is LL Cool J.
Yeah, I went back and looked at that footage. I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, I
It's
think
either
it's
that or it's somebody who really wishes they were LL Cool J. That's it's one or the other.
yeah. I'm pretty confident that was him. Like it's IMDb passes it off like it for sure it is. I think there's like some like debate about it, but I'm pretty sure it's LL Cool J just getting this random cameo, and he's like unknown at this time, which is amazing. But yeah, so everybody's excited for that. And yeah, she's playing an arcade cabinet, and the manager saying, "Hey, you got to walk the floor. You got to do your fucking job because you suck. You're just sitting here, playing video games on my dime." And she really doesn't give a shit about this comment. And instead of walking the floor like she's supposed to, she just goes into the projection booth and hooks up with the projectionist.
Yeah, because he seems like a classy fella up there.
Upstanding guy.
He's literally taking prints of movies and pretty much selling them off for rentals to other people to make a little cash on the side. He's just a little hustler.
In fairness, that's probably our dream job.
Yeah, and yeah, that's the thing. When I was a kid, I was like, man, being a projectionist has been awesome. And pretty much by the time I got to like of age, it's like, up, digital's coming in now, so
Yeah.
toss that thing out, and we don't need anybody up there anymore. It pretty much runs automatically.
One of my buddies from way back who was actually born on the day this movie was released, like the literal day. His older brother was a projectionist at my first job that I had, and he was like, carrying on family tradition by doing that. And then digital came in, and he's just like, whatever. Now he works for like EA Sports or something, but
Oh well, yeah,
um,
it worked out.
electronic. Yeah, he works for like Electronic Arts is what he works for. Follows them around, does all kinds of stuff, but Yeah, yeah. So everybody's, excited about the Comet. She's going up. She goes to the projection booth, hooks up with the projectionist, who is kind of a tool. Not only is he selling these movies, these prints, but like, first of all, he's punching way above his weight.
Yeah.
Getting Catherine Mary Stewart. Like, he's not a bad looking dude, but like, she's way out of his league.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, she's just one of the ones who got a little bit, I guess, lower standards or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. And then he's supposed to owe her $15 because you can't pay me because then it becomes a thing. And she doesn't get her $15. And then the next morning when they wake up, she does not get her egg McMuffin.
Yeah, he promised breakfast and all that kind of stuff, and he's just pissed because the thing from Another World print that he let this dude rent out, he never brought it back.
Dick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So while they're in the projection booth, something that you meet the sister, Regina's sister. Was it Sam Belmont, Samantha
Yeah,
Belmont?
Sam,
Yeah.
Samantha.
Played by Kelly Maroney, and she is kind of like the younger sister. Very, she's got the like bright yellow, like, you know, workout clothes on, and she's at a barbecue, and her mom or I think, is it her mom or stepmom?
I think it's her mom because the whole point is that her mom's there, and then dad is in the Marines or something like that, and he's off in Venezuela right now fighting a conflict. Lo and behold, but mom, she's one of those ones like obviously dad likes the military more than he likes the family life, even though he likes his kids. But mom's pretty much banging the guy next door. She's banging Reggie or whatever over there.
Yeah, and poor little Samantha's, seeing the worst of it. She gets punched in the face, like,
Yeah,
which
by her
they
mom.
really,
They
yeah,
have a slap battle that turns into literally she just full on knuckles her.
yeah. So she can't go out and enjoy the night of the Comet, and you don't really see what happens with her immediately, but then Regina Belmont sleeps in the projection booth, and there's this weird little conversation about Superman, which you're like, that's odd, but I knew instantly it was going to come up, and we'll talk about that later. But she wakes up and doesn't get her egg McMuffin, and she
Don't get the 15
realizes
bucks.
doesn't get her $15, and says, "Well, fuck it, I'm going to go down there and play the arcade cabinet," because when she's playing it, she realizes that there's a guy named DMK that has infiltrated her top 10 high scores. And it's all her name, all her initials, but there's this one DMK that's in there. And she's got to knock him off the list.
She's got to, yeah. It's a really interesting one because I feel like a lot of these characters are like way ahead of their time. You know what I mean? You got this cool, hip, strong lady who literally like is super into video games and so on like that, and it's 1984.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? She works at a movie like it's one of those ones she's made. She's almost like designed like if she was like in a Kevin Smith movie. You know?
Yeah. It almost is like that. Yeah. I mean, it's a really good character. It's a really interesting character. It's not, you know, your everyday run of the mill, like, female protagonist. She's, it's, there's a lot to her. But yeah, she's playing the arcade cabinet and decides to finally walk outside. And that's when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this is where the movie really kind of fucked me up, is there's a zombie. Yeah.
Yeah, the zombie pops up. The zombie initially pops up, but you kind of only see it from like almost like just his hand like gets the boyfriend goes out with the or whatever you want to call him, the projectionist guy goes out to go get his print, and he gets clobbered and whatnot. Regina doesn't see any of this, but once she decides to finally stroll her way out, she runs into that same zombie or whatnot and has a scuffle with him, and literally shows him his boss.
Yeah. Whoops his ass, which is her Sarah Connor element. And that's the thing about this movie. It's like the zombies. I don't know. I would love to hear what George A. Romero said about this, because I don't know if you could qualify them as zombies technically. It never fully solidifies that if you get bit, you turn into a zombie. Um,
You
there's a
can,
lot of weird characteristics. Are they mutants? Like, it's hard to really identify what they are. It's so That's one of the weird things about this movie. Like, when I say there's elements of other movies, you can't call this a zombie movie necessarily, but there are zombies in it, I
yeah,
guess.
pretty much. Well, the way I kind of look at it is, the comet came by, and then pretty much what happened is if you were outdoors, you pretty much got radiation vaporized. And so the people that, have been outside, their clothes are left there, and they got this interesting kind of red, bricky dust, which is a cool effect, both in the fact that it's like a real cheap and easy one to do, but it looks really neat too and different. And then it seems like if you were indoors and you were exposed to that radiation, you turned into like a zombie. But I don't think it's like a zombie that can bite and infect or anything like that. I think it's like you're literally just like a radiation zombie that has a limited
Right.
lifespan, and you've gone kind of feral. That's
Like
kind of what it is.
Half-Life. Yeah.
And then the third thing is if you're inside a steel building, for some reason that protects you from the radiation, which was what happened to be what the projection boost was. And then with Samantha's character, she gets in that fight with her mom. She decides she's going to go leave and whatnot like that, and ends up not going that far from home. She's going to run away from home, and she ends up just sleeping in like the tool shed. And I like to assume that this tool shed, it's steel, but because her dad's in the military and whatnot like that, he probably has it like a bunker, like if he's like the dude from like Tremors or something.
He's a prepper. He's
Yeah,
for sure a prepper.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah. So they both survived the night. Out of the millions and millions of people who were just vaporized, two of the people that survive are sisters, which, it's great for the plot.
yeah.
And but yeah, like it looks like the rapture happened. Everybody's turned into dust. Um, and the sky's got this weird red hue that they keep throughout the movie. It's very eerie, very ominous. And Regina Belmont walks out into the street, leaving the arcade cabinet. There's like nobody. It's like you mentioned, it's like 28 days later. It's like there's nobody there.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. The shots have that kind of look. And the interesting thing, too, is when I think about this movie being made, is how they get these shots of LA where there's just nobody there. And
Yeah.
I read later on that like what it was that they did that thing where they would just kind of wait for the light to go red, and you would just be like, okay, shoot it now. You got 4 seconds. We'll line these all up. And I bet you they just sent out like a B team that just kind of like, here's a couple guys and a camera, and just like try to collect as many shots as you can in the next 3 days.
Yeah.
We'll use what we get, and they do a pretty impressive job. I'm almost not even too sure if they're stealing these shots in a sense for how fast they probably have to go about it.
Yeah. It's funny too because the red hue that's in the sky really lends to this because then they can I'm sure they were shooting this throughout the day and the sun's in different spots or whatever. So now you can just kind of cover up that however they covered it up.
Well, yeah, because I think it's just a filter that went over the top, so that's
Oh,
what
okay.
creates that hue. Because it's like a gradient, like almost. I don't know if you did it either by lens, or you could have done it in lens, or you probably could have done it like over like the print as well
Yeah.
too. So, but that does probably mask a lot, so that like it kind of works for any time of the day.
Yeah, see, the ominous red hue is covering Los Angeles, and Regina makes her way back home and like kind of creeps into. She's already beat the shit out of the zombie. She's like scared. There's nobody around, and she sneaks into her house, and of course, her sister has survived because you need it for the plot.
Yeah, exactly. That's all you need, and whatnot. And I love it first because she gets there and like Samantha, the sister, like by this point, Regina kind of figures out like, oh, there's something going on. I ran into a zombie. People are vaporized and whatnot. And like Samantha's just looking like, dude, you're just trying to scare me. You're my older sister. What are you doing? Like bullying me and so on like that. And Regina goes outside and looks. She goes, look at outside. It's Saturday morning. Where are the children? Where are the children? Like she's making a great point here. There's nobody out there. And I just love there's a scene where Samantha's just standing there at the top of the door, doesn't say a single thing, just slowly slams that door closed and goes back inside.
Yeah, you don't know if it's denial. They handle it pretty well though. Like there's these moments of sadness and like, oh man, the whole world's dead, but then they're just like, ah, fuck it. Um, but yeah, it is really cool. They just walk out there and hey, at least the mother's dead, which I think
Yeah,
she was kind
exactly.
of
Yeah.
happy about.
I don't
Yeah,
think anybody cared. Like, it's funny. Regina never even brings that up. I feel like, what happened to mom? Well, I think she actually does. She goes, look, there's mom right there, and there's
yeah,
Reggie,
yeah.
or whoever the neighbor
The
boyfriend was.
dickhole neighbor. Yeah,
Yeah,
um, yeah. That's my word of the night, dickhole.
yeah,
I like it. So yeah, so they spend a little time figuring out what's going on, and then they get in this really nice. What kind of red car was that? Um, I can't even
Gosh,
remember.
I can't remember exactly what it was too, but
Um, Reminds me of the one from Rain Man. I said it was red, but they get in the car and they hear a radio broadcast, and it sounds like it's live. So they decide to go to the radio station because there'll be like another human there. They haven't seen anybody. They've seen empty cars at stoplights. The city's surprisingly wide open.
yeah,
Like you would think there'd be more like awry, like some remnants of car crashes and stuff like that because people just kind of got vaporized. But
yeah,
um,
no, they were able to slow down first before getting vaporized and get to a nice parking spot.
yeah, exactly. Um, so they make their way to this radio station, and then they realize that it's just a recording. And they're just, kind of decide to pull up shop, and that's where they meet Robert Beltran's character. He kind of just sneaks in there with a cowboy hat.
Yeah, he comes in, and at first he's got a gun pointed and everything because he's seen the zombies as well too, and he's like, "Show me your eyes," because that's kind of almost the first thing that gives them away and whatnot.
Hmm.
And then once they feel they're all kind of safe and so on, they're all on the same team. They ask him, "Well, how'd you make it?" He's like, "Well, I have a truck driver and whatever, and I slept in the back of my cab, which was all steel plated, so I was
Yeah,
protected."
that would be one of the good places to be. Um, have a nice truck. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? You
you
could
could do a
always
lot with
sleep
a
in
nice
there.
truck. Yeah,
Yeah, big old semi truck, deck it out, and like turn it into like a survival machine.
yeah, exactly. You could do so much with that.
Yeah, a lot of gas though.
Yeah, you got that problem. But
Yeah.
hey, you could have like one of those like, kind of like the Mad Max like hauler and whatnot, and carry the fuel with you.
Yes, yes. So yeah, Robert Beltran ends up there. There's a tense moment where he's doesn't know if they're zombies or whatever, and they kind of figure each other out. And of course, Samantha's getting jealous because um, Regina's already kind of hitting on the cowboy guy, and taking her future boyfriend away. There's like one guy left on Earth, according to them. So
Well, yeah, well, and that's sort of like kind of like that's like almost like the theme of this movie is that like both these sisters are kind of there, and the whole thing is that like if this is the only guy left, and of course here's my older sister once again taking away the guy that I always liked, and since I'm the younger one, it's like when am I ever gonna make it?
yeah,
Which seems like because this movie's like one of the original PG-13 movies, so I felt like it was kind of designed to be like safe for television and like putting it on cable and everything like that without having to do too much editing.
yeah,
So they use all like those creative kind of words and so on like that, just to kind of keep it there, keep it kind of dialed in. And for the fact that it's a horror movie, it's like a perfect one that like it's easy to show. It's not like ridiculously gory or anything like that, you know.
yeah. It's just kind of there's some suggestive stuff in there, and there's like some borderline R-rated stuff in there, but most of all, it's pretty innocent, this movie. And yeah, so Regina and Sam, they meet this guy, and they trying to figure out what's going on. Um, Sam starts playing DJ at the DJ booth and tosses some Valley Girl records out and stuff like that. And it kind of reminded me of what I've only seen a little bit of the new season of Stranger Things, but they do that too. They kind of find a radio station, which is, by the way, the radio station they based it off of is here in North Carolina, just down the road.
No, interesting.
Yeah. Um,
Well, this
so
radio
yeah, so
station, this movie, that was also like as 80s as you can get radio station. Like once
yeah,
again, and it's like I don't feel like it's it all planned like that. It's just kind of the way that it is. Like let's just shoot it as is. But like in hindsight, you look at that, it's like that just gives it such like retro vibes of all that kind of stuff. But here it is, real life.
yeah. Well, and they designed that.
Yeah.
They
So they
designed
they
it as a
probably
whole
they
set.
probably a little bit more neon, little bit more turned up like a nightclub almost feeling.
That one piece of art in there that's like moving around is crazy. I would put that in here right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in that like radio
Yeah.
station. Makes you want to work there.
Yeah, it does. It does. Who needs radio station? We have a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're
But if you had
going.
if you had a radio station like that with more than just one neon bar behind you,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We got all the neon bars you could want. WSQK. So yeah, so they uh Robert decides to go check out, see if his family's still alive, and then they basically have a girls' day out on the town. First, they get their machine guns, decide to go out and blow this car up.
yeah, you know. And I was just gonna say this. One thing that I really like about this movie is the fact that like this movie is a perfect example of how you make like strong female characters because I feel like in the last like especially like 10 years ago, like people did not understand how you properly did that. Like their way
No.
of making a strong female character was a lot of times to make them like a lesbian, but they didn't really know what a lesbian was. So they're like, "Well, what's a lesbian?" Well, a lesbian is just a teenage boy at the end of the day that happens to be a woman. Like and that was like their thought process of putting together a strong female character and it's just like what? It's like they're like teenager boys. Like they're kind of wild, they're kind of crazy, and they're pussy hungry. Like that's what they are. It's like no, 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 no. this movie is like the perfect example of like this is how you do strong female characters well. It's like one, they're badasses. They know how to shoot guns because of their dad and everything like that, but they're still feminine. They still enjoy going to the mall. They still enjoy buying dresses and makeup and all kinds of stuff like that. So they're very well balanced. You know, they could take care of themselves, but at the same time, like they enjoy like all the things of life.
The microcosm of these characters in this movie is when they're shooting the car up and it's about to blow up, and Samantha complains about the gun not working very well. It's like these guns always break. Dad would have bought us Uzis, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's the Valley Girl. That's like all the like archetypes that you got in there, and then they put it in like just that little line, just kind of adds that element to the whole movie, you know.
Yeah.
But that's like the microcosm of those two characters.
Well, it's just that small one too. That all you really have to do is just be, you kind of mentioned that the dad's in the military, and it's like that can just solve like, well, how they know how to use all these guns? Dad taught them. That's
Yeah,
it. You know.
yeah. And so after a shooting practice, they decided to do the thing that you have to do in the late 70s through early 90s, even into the 2000s. If there's a survival situation, you got to go to the mall.
You got to, because if anything, this is your one time to have your free shopping spree that, you can do whatever you want. It reminds me of almost like, remember being a kid and you'd see those like Toys R Us commercials and they would always offer like that, like, okay, you get 15 minutes and you can load up whatever you can get your like dirty little paws on into this
Yeah.
cart. And that's what you get to keep. And I just remember as a kid, you would just sit there thinking about like, all the things I could get. What could I shove in here? You know what I mean? Like, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, Virtual Boy, all these kinds of things. Also as kids, you start thinking logically. Like, you go, well, what's the most expensive stuff? That's what I would just go in there. Like, screw the, I can always get the action figures and stuff later on. Like, I'm going for
Yeah.
I'm going for the big stuff.
Yeah. Those used to always frustrate me because I used to always get mad at their choices. Like, you're picking that, you
Yeah,
dumbass.
exactly.
Like, and it
Yeah,
was
like, well,
never,
I'm gonna pick this $5 thing that's gonna take up, a quarter of my cart.
yeah, and it was never like the kid actually winning the prize. It was probably some executive's kid. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That they just shoehorned in there, and he's already got all this stuff anyway, so he doesn't care.
He's just going through his own bedroom.
Yeah, well, or yeah, he's going to his own bedroom. Or it's like, they're like, hey, the sponsors say you got to go get this Sega. Do not touch that. I don't care how much you want a Nintendo. You get the Sega and you get the Atari Jaguar. The Jaguar, come on, Dad.
Not the
Like,
CD version.
yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, they just it was so set up. I always used to get pissed off at those things, but yeah, I think if everybody's just kind of always fantasized about, like, especially growing up in our age, like just being stuck in the mall and living it,
Yeah.
because you'd have so much fun. First of all, there's a lot of wide open spaces to where if you got like a bike or like a skateboard or
Yep.
anything like that, you can go do some rad shit in there.
Yeah.
And
The security guard would normally toss you out for, but
yeah,
he's not there.
yeah, you could Evil Knievel one of the fountains in the middle. Like, holy fuck.
Yeah. And then you got the food court and everything that you'd have full
Yeah,
access to.
yeah,
And especially, I always think especially malls back in like the '80s, because kind of the downfall to like the mid '90s and especially in the 2000s is the malls became kind of corporate and they became kind of run of the mill. But back in like the olden days, though, like,
sterile.
yeah, is that malls were always very unique, and you had a lot more mom and pop shops and everything in there, and they had just the wide variety of stuff because Walmarts and Targets hadn't really taken over yet, Costco's and all that stuff. The mall was like you went in there and it's like there's a gun store, there's a pet store, there's clothes stores, there's video games and Radio Shacks and all kinds of these different things, and you almost had it all in one kind of cool place for shopping. And then as time went on, it's like it became more and more like they're just the corporations. So if you go to one mall, you've seen them all almost in a sense.
I recently, I don't know if you know this, Toys R Us is kind of back. They're doing pop-up shops.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're not doing so. They're basically doing what Spirit Halloween does. So
That
around
makes sense.
Christmas, yeah, they'll just have
Yeah.
like a little pop-up shop because it's probably the only time they're in the green anyway, you know.
Yeah.
And I decided to take my kids to, and it's the first time I think they had been in a mall,
Uh huh.
which is crazy because I was in the mall every chance I got, even though it was broke and wasn't going to get a toy. I just wanted to, I love being in the mall, the
The mall had
ambiance,
so much. Yeah.
just so much character. It was so fun to go to. And they were kind of bored. And I'm like, it was
Well,
really disappointing because it's so sterile. And there's a Lego store in there too, in that mall. And they were
yeah.
excited about that, but Everything else is just like, you're walking around a doctor's office.
Yeah, and I hate to sort of say it, that I can kind of understand it because the mall's not
I
really
do
the
too.
same. Because even the same thing too is once again we were on like the tail end of those malls, so we got to see some of it, but like I felt like you didn't get that '80s experience.
Yeah,
And this mall that's in this movie is that Sherman Oaks Mall, which is also in T2, which is in Commando, which is in um God, what's the other horror movie?
Fast
Just total.
Times.
Well, it's in Fast Times, which is the real big one that it's in, of
Yeah.
course, and Chopping Mall. There we go.
Oh yeah,
So,
Chopping Mall.
which also has Samantha's in that movie as well too, and she's in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So she's in
Damn.
any kind of movie that seems to happen to be in this mall. I'm surprised she's not in Commando.
Three movies in the same. That's wild, actually.
Yeah,
Um,
this is the mall that Arnold Schwarzenegger goes swinging across like Tarzan in.
yeah.
So much legacies in this mall. The bummer is that they remodeled this mall. I think after the earthquake is what happened in
Mm,
the early '90s and whatnot, and it kind of lost its charm past that point. Like it's not, it doesn't really look like it doesn't look the same. And that's what I've always
yeah.
kind of heard. I still would like to go to it just for nostalgic sake, just to say like, hey, cool, we're going to the mall. At least it's in that kind of thing. But I know it's not going to look like any of these movies. That's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish what they would do with malls like this. I think that this is like the only thing you can kind of do left is to make them kind of like a destination, like mix match museum slash sort of experience, or even like kind of theme park in a weird way of like you're going to
Yeah.
experience the old school ways. You're going to have all these cool restaurants. And it'd be cool to even just do the thing where like even if you had a Pizza Hut in there, like the Pizza Hut would be all designed '80s style. So it's like
Yeah.
'80s Pizza Hut. Even if it has some modern items, that's okay, but like the look and feel should be like that, and then replicate it with almost, mixed match of kind of like, as I said, more theme park oriented stuffs and like attractions, like maybe less like stores, but more
Hmm.
like, that kind of stuff that you wouldn't normally find everywhere, even if it was a mixed match of like retro and kind of modern.
Yeah. An 80s, 90s destination. You bring in, Debbie Gibson or whatever to kind of like do a concert or whatever. Like you relive the past. And
Yeah.
I mean, at least we have these movies that have that kind of stuff because you have a really cool movie theater in here. You have the mall,
Yep.
and it's a good mall scene too. They do have this knockoff version of "Girls Just Want to Have Fun,"
Yeah. Well, the
which,
soundtrack in this movie is still pretty legitimate.
yeah,
Like,
it's a good
although, like,
soundtrack.
I re-listened to it again today when I was at work, and I was like, dude, like, I get there's some bangers on that soundtrack. They're
Yeah,
all kind of like, maybe C kind of bands, but like that doesn't mean they're not good tunes.
yeah. There was some really, really good stuff in there, and I Bobby Caldwell's in it,
Yeah.
which shocked me out of there. Um, but yeah, it's so they go to the mall and they decided, blow off some steam and they're gonna try on all the clothes and do whatever the fuck they want because there's no security. They don't have to pay for anything. They can just do whatever they want.
Yeah, dance party.
Yeah. And then this is your second encounter with mutant zombies in here. Well, actually the third, because we
Yeah.
forgot there's a dream sequence.
Yeah, because there is that really cool dream sequence when they're at the radio station where Samantha falls asleep. And, well, we don't even know she falls asleep. All we see is she's just driving, she's cruising. She's got kind of like almost like like something like a wedding dress on or something like that. You're like, okay, she just kind of picked that up. She's drinking a beer because she can, and no one's gonna stop her. And as she's going, there's a couple motorcycles that come pulling up. She's like, well, where the hell were these cops at? We've been out here this whole time, and they finally show up. Well, she gets pulled over by the cops, and it turns out the cops are zombies. They go to grab her, and then she wakes up. And it's like, oh, okay, it was just a dream, whatever. So if she decides, like, I don't know, maybe she's sweating or something like that. I'm gonna go to the restroom and I'm gonna take kind of like a bath here in this like sink, wash down because yeah, of all that sweat and whatnot. And then next
Slash,
thing
we
you know,
need to get her clothes off for a little bit of the movie.
yeah, exactly. The movie might not be rated R, but it's PG-13 and it's the '80s, so you're gonna
Yeah.
get what you get. So yeah, she takes that off. She goes to kind of like take like her sink shower, and then that one of those zombie cops comes in, grabs her and everything like that. Boom, she wakes up again, dreaming within a dream, and it's actually a pretty
Yeah.
well shot and executed part. Kind of scary too, even like 'cause you just don't know what's going on.
Yeah, because it really suckers you twice. Like you're in a dream twice. Like it doesn't do the doodly doodly doodly, there's none of that. Like you're like, oh shit, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
they're hard cuts and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have those in the cop zombies? These were actual real cops to actually help with the movie, help with the traffic and stuff. But that's probably the most iconic like zombie character in the movie because even on some of the posters they kind of advertise this thing and
Yeah, he's literally he's the main one on the bottom there. If you can kind
yeah,
of see, it's
yeah,
kind of like he's almost like the equivalent of like when we watched oh shit, what was the nuclear bomb movie? Threads. And they
yeah,
like they always would advertise like that cop guy with the bandages wrapped around it. Of course, he's in the movie for like 10 seconds,
yeah,
but they
yeah,
make it out like this guy with his bandages all around his face, and he's like a British police officer. Like, oh shit, who's this guy gonna be?
yeah. It is an iconic look, but
Yeah.
yeah. So she has these two dreams. Now they're at the mall and trying all this stuff, and all of a sudden you see these creepy guys in like the security room, and they're spying on them and stuff. And they decide to, go down there and make, sure that they're punished for their deeds. And what's weird, so there's a couple weird things about it. You don't really know their motive. You don't really know who they are. And then the main bad guy kind of talks like Max Headroom a little bit, and it's just the whole thing is really bizarre and surreal. And that's one of the things about the movie. What do you see that? Did you see
What?
that?
I didn't see
In the
anything.
in the middle of it, it just said recording started.
Did it really? That
Yeah.
scares me.
Yeah, but it still says 56:45.
Bizarre. I don't know. I didn't see anything on my end.
We'll just keep going. I mean, at this point, I don't know
Yeah.
what
I
I
don't
don't
know
know
what
what
else
to,
to do. We're already this far in. I'm just going to assume that everything will be fine.
but it still says 57:03. So, I mean, is that what you have?
That's what it says. Well, mine says 56.
Oh,
That's bizarre.
well, I never hit record.
Yeah. Well, mine still says recording, so I don't know.
Well, fuck it. All right.
I'm gonna I'm gonna assume we're
Um,
all good, or else you know what? We're gonna go step outside and watch that comment.
yeah.
It's about
What the
two steps away. Like I'm forcefully gonna go look at the comment.
It's like, yeah. What were we just saying? Oh yeah, so he sounds like Max Headroom.
Yeah, we're at
And
the
then
mall. We got these boys in here. They're stock boys who now feel that because they've survived or whatnot like that, it is now their time to rise up and shine and show off to like who they really are. And this is now their mall. From
yeah.
the lowest of the low, now they are the guardians of this place, but not in a
This
good
is
way.
yeah, started from the bottom down here. It doesn't explain how they survived. It doesn't explain exactly who they are, but yeah, you've got this creepy group of guys. And the thing is, we're only like a day into this like apocalypse, and there's already cults starting.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
weird. Yeah, it's bizarre.
and a good thing it's not a 70s movie because this would be a really bad scene if that was what it was.
Oh,
Since we're in an 80s movie, it's going to turn out safer. But if
yeah.
it was a 70s movie, this is where you'd get like the 15-minute, like, wow, that movie went real hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like some really bad shit's about to go down. You can surmise what I'm talking about here. And, that's when you kind of enter these other characters that you've been so little small turns throughout the movie. There's these other characters you've been introduced to. So you have the two sisters. You
Hmm.
have
Hey, you have
you
Hector.
Hector, yeah. Hector who's, at this point going to visit his family is attacked by a zombie himself, like a little kid zombie,
Yeah,
which
which
is
is
the
actually pretty
creepiest.
cool.
Yeah. It's the creepiest zombie in my opinion. It was just really, really bizarre and weird. Um and so he's gone. And then there's this other group of characters that's like it's really vague what's going on. And this part of the movie in particular is where it kind of went off the rails for me for just a little bit, like right in the middle, because the whole mall thing is just odd. Like, you don't really know what's going on. It feels like kind of shoehorned in. It's like they're just filling time. And I mean, it's still enjoyable to watch. I mean, there's a really cool shootout in a fucking mall. Like, that's
Yeah.
cool.
And those
But then
girls do
they,
a pretty good job of defending themselves for a while. I mean, even Samantha chucks a CRT TV at one of them from like the top
yeah,
floor.
yeah, which is awesome. So they're like, but it's all kind of bizarre. It comes out of nowhere and you don't expect it because they're dancing. The girls just want to have fun. So it is eerie though, because it's just so sudden. And there's like a surrealist element to this movie. And there's some ambiguity and vagueness with some stuff. And it works sometimes, but then sometimes you're like, what the fuck is going on? Like does any of this matter right now? Because it feels like it's filler.
Hmm.
But then that's when you get this other group of people come and they've showed them a few times through the movie, but it's like a think tank and they're scientists. And even in the opening in the movie, it suggests that some people knew what was going on with the comet. And some people knew that this was some bad shit that was going on. And most people just thought like, "Ooh, comet, yay, let's go outside," and they get vaporized because they're plebeians, which I guess is part of the message of this movie. Also, anti-consumerism, although they're like, having fun in that fucking mall.
Yeah, I think it's like a double thing. It's kind of like it's got the consumerism thing kind of feeling of like Dawn of the Dead, but then it's not really necessarily anti it either. It's kind of like it's part of it, enjoy it, you know.
Yeah, this movie understood its tone, but it didn't understand what it needed to do. Sometimes it was weird, but again, $700,000 budget, and
Yeah,
they get every red cent out of it too.
yeah, exactly. But when they have these like scientist group that comes in, this is the part that's actually it reminds me a lot of like Day of the Dead, which
Yeah,
ironically is like still a handful of years away from this movie. But like all that scientist stuff and like in their kind of like laboratory that's out like in the desert and whatnot, whether that be Nevada or just Eastern California, um, like so much of it like it really comes across like in that Day of the Dead with that kind of laboratory that they have there. But what we learn is these scientists come by and they sort of save the girls from the boys, the stock boys and whatnot. And those stock boys we kind of realize are kind of partially mutating. So we've learned that they've probably breathed, they probably were kind of slightly protected in the mall, but they probably still ended up getting some of the radiation in there.
yeah. It's hard to tell exactly what's going on, but yeah. So they're slightly mutated. They look really creepy. Like I said, that main guy's like talks like Max Headroom. They were really kind of off-putting, which was the idea. But um, so yeah. So they get protected from this group of people. And at this point in time, you don't know who they are, what the fuck they're doing. There's this one lady that you keep seeing, and she's advocating for not bringing people to the facility. And it kind of sets her up like she's going to be a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it does like the pull the rug out from under you thing and subverts your expectations. But it would have been more effective if you kind of knew what the fuck was going on because it's just like, who are these people? But yeah, so what's going on with these people at this facility, this think tank, is that they are trying to find a cure for whatever the fuck this comet is and how it's turned most of the world into dust and society has collapsed. So they're trying to find a cure for it, but they're also running out of time. They got to keep themselves alive because they turned the ventilation on in the bunker and it sucked in the some
The
of the particles.
radiation,
Yeah,
yeah.
some of the radiation. So they're starting to slowly deteriorate. So they need fresh blood and fresh organs and stuff to kind of keep themselves going so they have enough time to find the cure. And so what they're doing is they're collecting people.
Yeah, they're literally trying to find anybody who survived that kind of survived right, and they're gonna just put them into a coma pretty much and just drain their blood. Get that blood transfusion going, you know.
Yeah. So the scientists show up. They decide, hey, if we want to find survivors, where will we find them at? Because they heard the girl's transmission on the radio. So
Hmm.
they knew there's two girls out there. So they're like, hey, we got to find these two girls. And we're like, let's go to the fucking mall. That's where they are.
Yeah.
We'll go to the mall, which was a good decision because that's exactly where they were. And they go in there and they shoot up the mutant bad guys who are trying to, take their liberties with them or whatever. If that was even their motive, who knows what the fuck they were thinking? It was just weird.
Yeah,
Um,
they almost felt like they were those kind of guys that were so goofy that they're probably just gonna, I don't know, like kill them or torture them or something like that, but not go any farther. You
yeah,
know.
it was really odd and just off-putting and just weird. But they get there and they find that they're under fire from these mutant zombie bad guys, whatever. And so they help save the day and they rescue them and they take Regina to our main character. They take her to their facility, but the younger girl stays back because she's waiting on Hector to get there from visiting her
Yeah.
family. And they're going to go to the movie theater. But then you think, here's some spoilers, y'all. You think they killed the sister. And it was
Yeah,
really
Samantha.
fucking sad.
Yeah, because it's like it looks like they're just gonna shoot her up and just put her to sleep like like a pet, like a dog.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought of when I watched it. I'm like, this is like putting my dog to sleep. I don't like this because she's got these big puppy dog eyes anyway, and she's like in the middle of talking, like, there's this guy at my school, and he's the butthole, and then all of a sudden she's like dead.
Yeah,
It was
she got a
really,
needle in her arm and so on. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't like it. It was very unsettling. But you find out later that she's not dead, that they just made her look dead, so you know they wouldn't do bad things to her. But um, Regina goes to the facility. And that's when you start to uncover what this place really is. And they're using people as blood bags. And taking their life. And they have these two little kids in there, probably like, what do you think, like 11 and 8?
Yeah, something like that. There's like, there's like a, blonde-haired boy, with a football, and then there's like an Asian little girl. And I don't know if they're supposed to be brother and sister. I mean, I know it doesn't seem like they should be. They look completely different, but at the same
Yeah.
time, like, they were obviously, I don't know, in the same place and captured and whatnot. And they got these two other real creepy
At the very
scientist
least, they're
ladies.
trauma bonded.
Yeah, exactly. That's how they kind of are. And to top it off, there's these two like other ladies that are in the science lab that are almost just like way too into like the
Way too
dark.
giddy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're telling these little kids, they're like, hey, don't come over here, breathe this gas. You're gonna go visit like Santa Claus with this and so on like that.
Yeah.
And the girl's kind of a little bit like, I don't know, my parents said, don't trust these strangers. Which by this point it's like, dude, you went on the helicopter, you got here, you trusted a lot of strangers already just to get
Mom and
here.
dad's dead. So,
Yeah, and the boys just there like, yeah, Santa ain't real.
yeah, you little dumb bitch. Like, yeah, it's just, yeah. But these kids are about to get sacrificed for, their blood. So, um, Regina has told her sister's dead. And you think in this point in the movie, if you've never seen it, you think she is dead. It looks like she got put to sleep. And you don't know what's going on. And there's just all this weird stuff happening. But basically, she has pieced together that these people are terrible. They killed her sister. And she wants to stop them, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, they were asking her. There's a part in two where they're asking her all kinds of like odd questions and so on like that, and she's kind of giving them always funny answers and so on like that. And the guy's just like not laughing whatsoever.
Yeah.
He just wants to make sure he's got good blood specimen.
Yeah. Because he asked her like 5 times, have you had hepatitis? Have you had hepatitis? Um, and these little bitches love to break the rules.
Yeah.
Like, really love to break the rules. So, um, anyway, yeah. So she's being kind of interrogated. And as soon as she gets a chance, she plops that like a keyboard or something over the guy's head and she escapes. And that's when you're starting to realize that Hector's not dead because he pulls up. Oh, he's going to come save the day. And he kind of like tempts this bodyguard with, the prospect of banging this little cheerleader in his trunk.
Well, and the
Sounds
weird thing
terrible.
too is Hector really likes wearing costumes too, because first he
Yeah.
shows up at the radio station in a Santa Claus outfit, carrying a bunch of presents and so on like
Yeah.
that, to bring us into our Christmas movie vibe. And then when he like, he gets there, and the other chick, the scientist lady there, Audrey, who she kind of explains all this stuff to him real quick, and most of the stuff's like in a letter because she's kind of just totally out of it. She's got the sunglasses on, she's changing, and she was like the only wherever all the other scientists are pretty much looking for blood bags and looking away for cure. She kind of realizes that the point is nigh, and that it's just no, we're done for. We screwed up. It's just
Yeah.
like let's just get it over with. So she's the one that saves pretty much Samantha and everything like that. Lets Hector know in on all this stuff and ends up killing the other guy that was there too, and then kills herself. But Hector also, once again, going back to his costume things, when he shows up there to like that guard and tricks him, he's got this whole cowboy aesthetic going on now with an accent and everything. Like, so he's really into like
Role play
working his way here. Yeah, and
and dynamite.
yeah, he's got dynamite and so on. And this guard, I guess, is just once again, maybe it's because I can't imagine you roll up into this base in the middle of the night, and there's some loud guy and a big old Cadillac and everything like that. Like
Yeah.
that can't be good. Like but I don't
Yeah.
know. This guy's he's pretty trustworthy, I guess. And I guess at this point, that there's not that many people left. So if he does have some cheerleader in the back of the trunk, I guess that's worth the risk.
Yeah. Yeah. So he kind of tricks one of the guards and they kind of infiltrate the facility. And then that's where Regina and Samantha are reunited, even though Regina thinks she's dead. Now she's realized her sister's alive. There's all kinds of fishy stuff going on. She's pissed. And now they've decided to try to make the escape and get out of there. And they take those kids with them. And those kids were getting ready to be put to sleep by those ladies that were really excited about killing these children, by the way.
Yeah, way too
And
into it.
they told them that they, as you mentioned, they were going to go to Santa Claus. So when they capture the two girls that were going to kill these kids, they tie them up and it says in a sign, it says off to see Santa. So
Yeah, they got the big old
diabolical. Yeah.
laughing gas things on it. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Top 10 petty moments of all time. Loved it. I love petty shit. Um, so yeah, they're basically, oh shit, hold on a second. I lost my train of thought. I'm struggling. Um, what were we just talking about?
We're talking about the girls going to Santa Claus,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
There we go.
and now everybody's kind of reunited. Regina and Samantha and Hector and all that stuff.
Yeah. So now everybody's excited, and you're in this facility. And by the way, the facility is a really cool set because they kind of did some forced perspective. The lighting is really good. This movie looks good. There's some
Yeah, that's
really
the
good
thing.
shots in this movie.
It's like one of those ones. If you never saw that budget was $700,000, you'd never believe that. You'd be like,
No.
"Oh, it's a couple $1 million movie." It's a low budget, like kind of B movie in a sense, but like a high B movie in a sense, like
Yeah. Yeah, they're really creative with how they use this money. They were managing to get shots. It reminded me of when we watched Cool as Ice. And you're like, wow, this movie looks fucking way too good to be a Vanilla Ice movie. Like the movie's ass,
but the
but
movie's
it looks
shot
good.
and edited so good.
Yeah, and then it turns out it's Janusz Kaminski, who's like an Academy Award winner. That's like his first movie. And this movie's kind of like that too, where this movie's a little wait. First of all, this movie's way better than Cool as Ice, so I'm not
Yeah,
suggesting, but it's like that too, where it has a small budget, and there's some shots in here that look really good. They like to use light to tell the character stories and like subliminal messages and stuff. And I mean, it makes for a really, really unique look. It's a very, very well shot movie.
yeah, no, 100%, and everything about it's cool, and even the facility at the end is neat. But pretty much what happens is, yeah, they all meet up and everything like that, realize everyone's still alive, and they just need to get out of here. Of course, we start seeing some of those guys starting to change there and there, and the scientists and whatnot.
Slowly, yeah, which was a
But
good effect too.
yeah, which is cool. And then at some point, Regina knocks the power out, which takes the couple blood bag people that they had in there that are hooked up in a coma and whatnot. They die and
Yeah.
whatnot. So that really sends the scientist off. Is like, well, that was our only like blood transfusions we had left, And from this point, they just escape out. You get outside. They get in the car. Hector's got his bombs. He's ready to let them blow up. They're driving off, but Hector's got to stop real quick. He's like, wait a second. I got to watch my explosion here. I got to watch this
Yes.
masterpiece I got. And as you said before, that this explosion they got here is a pretty solid one. You know.
Solid explosion. I feel like there's gasoline on the ground, which makes it kind of like roll out too. One thing we're gonna do it via VHS this year. I'm gonna try to remember. You're gonna have to help me stay on task. We're gonna rate the explosions that we get this year.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Now, obviously, this is number one.
Yeah, this was like a perfect, just solid, singular kind of like explosion
Yeah.
scene.
And it adds to it that he was like talking shit to the bad guys. They were getting all pissed off, and then they die. So that adds something to the explosion. So yeah, they kind of ride off into the sunset, and then at the end of the movie, you're kind of left with like what next?
Yeah, and you got Regina and Hector for some reason are kind of together, and they're sort of playing mom and dad to like the two kids, and their kind of theory on this is that we're the last of civilization, so we got to kind of make sure it goes forward and whatnot. So it's almost like they take up these adult roles in this thing here, and they're like out walking the streets in Los Angeles. They're trying to take like some photographs and like they're like Sunday best or whatever they got on,
Yeah,
you
look at them
know.
with the church.
But yeah, they're just like dressed to like the max and so on. But then we run across Samantha, and she's dressed a little bit different. She's just dressed in kind of a very more fun way. But you could tell that she's kind of bummed out that she's all alone in a sense, and she's the third wheel here. And what's she gonna get, out of this? She doesn't have a guy. I guess she can wait for that 12-year-old boy to grow up, but that's about all she's got.
Are you an angel? Just thinking Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, that's practically
Uh,
what it would be like. Except for this kid, would beat up Anakin Skywalker.
yeah, oh yeah, he's a way bigger kid than Anakin. Yeah, Anakin's a little bitch. Um, so yeah, so you're the movie ends with them. They're dressed in their Sunday best, like they went to church. They're just trying to be quintessential Americana, Norman Rockwell family.
Yeah.
And one thing about Los Angeles in this apocalypse, it stays very, very clean.
Yeah, because
Like
there's like a rain scene in between like the escape
that's
from the
yes,
facility and then being out here, and like in this rain scene, you see it wash away all the dust people and so on like that, and it's almost like it purified Los Angeles. In a
yeah.
weird way, it's like we have cleansed Los Angeles. We have gotten rid of all the trash, and they turned to dust, and now the rain has washed them away.
I think it needs that right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like something that yeah, maybe we need to bring this comet out. I'll stay indoors in the steel shed. I'll make sure that I'm fine and dandy here.
Yeah, I don't know. Where would I go? I don't know. But yeah, anyway, so Rash as Samantha's, getting tired of their like bullshit, like we're gonna, protect culture or whatever. She decides to walk out into the middle of the street. She almost gets ran over by this Beamer, Mercedes, one of the two.
Yeah, something like
And
that.
young guy in the car, and she's like all starstruck immediately, and they hit it off. And so now there's more survivors. Now you know that there's more to the story, which is why the main reason I wish we had a sequel to this. But yeah, so she starts flirting with the guy in the car and says, "Hey, can we be back? Can we go out and hang out?" And of course, Regina says, "Be back by your curfew." But as he pulls out, the license plate says DMK. So
Yep. Which was the initials on the Tempest that Regina had to beat.
tied it all together.
Yeah, I think that's a great. That's like one of those ones with that moment right there. It's like it's just perfect because it doesn't even like all it does is it shows it. So it's just like if you know, you know,
Yeah,
you know.
I like that. I like that. It ends a fun little movie, a little quirky kind of amalgamation of so many different little sub genres, and it's a silly little thing, and I had fun with it overall.
Yeah, and I like the super happy ending and everything like that. And I just think the experience is great. As I said, I've watched it multiple times, and I always really dig this movie.
Hmm.
And it's one of those ones like I know I'll throw it on multiple times more from this point. It's always fun. It's a great one if like if you did want to share somebody like a good '80s experience movie. This one I feel like is top tier for that. You know,
Especially with all the pop culture that's in it, all the like devices and stuff, and just so much of the world looking so 80s. I think that adds to it too.
Yeah, and it's like, and once again, it feels so natural because that's always one of my big problems. Like, especially when people like make like, oh, well, we're gonna make an '80s like movie, like today, and they almost like triple down on it, and so it just doesn't feel like right. Or like one of my
Yeah,
biggest problems is like when they have kids, and it doesn't matter what decade it is, '80s, '90s, '70s, and they'll be like, okay, say this movie takes place in 1986. Well, the kid has all the posters on his wall are like literally 1986 posters. I'm like, dude,
yeah,
nobody has it like that. Mostly all the posters you had were already like 10 years old by that point. Like
yeah,
that, you know what I mean? Like you might have one, but like let's be honest, the majority of your stuff's gonna be way older than like what you probably had. So I always
yeah.
think that that's kind of silly.
Yeah, but it is a really cool aesthetic in there, like a really cool, everything is really interesting. But yeah, I'm glad I watched this movie. I don't know if I'll watch it again. There's a lot of messiness in here that was just, frustrating for me that they didn't explain certain like you don't need to explain everything, but you have to make everything make sense. Like I'm pro leaving things be a mystery, but I don't know. There's some
See,
things that they could have cleaned up.
I just go along with it. And I just kind of like I try to like piece it together myself because I feel like that's the point of the ride is supposed to be almost from like the girl's perspective, I think, where like,
Hmm.
you're not really thinking too much about the details and like you're not thinking too hard into it. You're just going along with it, and it's like, well, that's what happened. I guess well that's how it is. Like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say this movie definitely inspired some people. I know Buffy the Vampire Slayer was kind of based off to an extent the main character in this, Regina Belmont. So movie
Yeah,
has a
which
nice little legacy.
I've never seen that Buffy like the '92 movie or whatever it
Yeah,
is. I've always wanted to see it. Never have. Never watched the TV show either, but
yeah. I watched a little bit of the TV show back in the day, but I've never
yeah.
seen
I remember
seen
just
the
seeing it
movie.
like when channel surfing, but that's about as much as I can
Yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah. I got into it for like 5 minutes, and I can't even remember what it was about, except for like what the title says. But um, yeah, solid little fun movie. If you never seen Night at the Comet, I watched it for free on YouTube, which I think is kind of like the place to go now because it has pretty much whatever Tubi has, whenever Tubi has it, and then there's no commercials if you have premium. So
Well, and didn't you say it was Shout that put it up on there too?
I think so. I think so. I mean, it's on. If you just type in YouTube movies, you'll be surprised how many free movies they have at any given time. And it's cool because you could see the comments on it. Some
Yeah.
people share little pithy ideas and like some trivia in there, so it's pretty interesting.
I do think that YouTube will become like the Spotify of movies. I mean, it's getting pretty darn close, but I think
Yeah,
you give it about another 5 more years, I think it's going to be that point where like at least for as much as old movies, and probably even modern movies, is that like 90+% of them are going to all be on there. There'll be a couple holdouters, you'll get those kind
yeah.
of people
The
that
Garth
think that
Brooks.
Garth Brooks, Neil Young, those kind of get people that think, come on, join me. It's like nobody's joining you,
No, nobody.
but I think that that's what it's going to become. I think that's going to be the new thing. And that's why I think YouTube kind of has, they're sort of allowing either the movies to be up on there by the companies themselves, or if not, somebody's uploading it, and nobody seems to care as much anymore like they once did.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like 10 years ago when a movie would pop up on there. If you don't watch it in the next couple of days, it's going to be a goner. That
Yeah.
guy's account's going to disappear. Who knows? He's going to be in like, he's going to be out of here, Guantanamo Bay. You won't see him again.
Siberia. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the new thing. Like if you have, especially if you have premium, like you don't have to endure the commercial. So like this one, for instance, now the Comet was on Tubi, and that's where I was going to watch it first. I'm like, well, let me check YouTube before I do that. Of course, I did the YouTube version because I don't own it, but I also didn't want to pay for commercials, and I didn't want to, So anyway, um, but there you go. Go watch Night of the Comet if you've never seen it. It's on YouTube right now. Definitely recommend this movie, and a good way to kick off the new year.
I think so, yeah, because it's in our little post-Christmas experience, we even get a little bit of Christmas in this here, and we started off a whole comet coming in, but it's one of those movies where it's a horror movie where like you're having a good time, and at the end of the day, you have the happy end, you have the super happy ending. You don't just have a
Yeah.
regular happy ending, you got the super happy ending.
Yeah, a happy ending, and you didn't even have to pay for that part. So,
Yeah.
pretty nice. So, anyway, thank y'all for listening. Any last thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I think that's good.
All right. Well, again, Night of the Comet, November 1984. Definitely recommendation from both of us. Silly little quirky thing. It's not going to blow your mind. It's not going to be one of the best movies you've ever seen. But when you look at it for the small budget and the creativity it had to make the movie, and plus it's just an entertaining movie in itself, I think it's worth it. So, Night of the Comet, go watch it on YouTube. As always, for Via VHS, you can follow us at Via VHS on X or Via VHS Pod on Instagram. I'm mostly on TikTok these days, so you can find at Via VHS on TikTok and let us know what you think about it. But more great movies to come. We got a lot of stuff lined up for the rest of the year. So, anyway, Happy New Year to everyone. Thanks for joining us back on Via VHS, and y'all have a good one. Via VHS is out.